I'm deeply honored today to be here to commemorate a great moment not only in Greek and American history, but in world history. Sponsored by a proud Greek-American association, GATA, an organization that rightly feels an obligation to remember, a responsibility to remind, and a duty to honor. So we are gathered here today, Hellenes and Philhellenes, to remember a turning point in recent history. The 28th of October, 1940, some 75 years ago. Let us recount the events leading up to that great moment in history, and together, will you join me on a journey to relive them? Let's begin. It is now the summer of 1940. France has fallen. Italy has declared war. No doubt remains that the involvement of Greece in Hitler's war is only a matter of time. Premier Ioannis Metaxas has begun to call up certain reservists as early as May of 1940. And now, throughout June, he speaks in public of the grave national danger facing Europe. It is now August of 1940. Italian aircraft begin to harass Greek ships at sea. And on the 15th of August, an Italian submarine torpedoes and sinks the Greek cruiser Eli in the harbor of Tinos during a religious festival. At about the same time, Mussolini accuses the Greeks of official responsibility for the murder of an Albanian patriot who was, in actual fact, an outlaw, a brigand, killed in a frontier brawl. In truth, Mussolini is building up a case to justify an attack on Greece, largely inspired by childish arrogance at the way in which Hitler has launched aggression after aggression in Europe without telling him in advance. Arrogantly, Mussolini assumes that he can walk all over Greece. His military preparations are conducted with an incompetence which shows that Il Duce was not only a scoundrel, but a fool. The Greeks, on the other hand, pursue their calm mobilization with efficiency and heroic confidence in their still unwritten alliance with Great Britain. It is now October of 1940. Although Premier Metaxas continues negotiations for a commercial treaty with Germany and urges Hitler to restrain his Italian colleague, he senses after the October meeting between Hitler and Mussolini at the Brenner Pass that all hope of peace is gone. The crisis comes at the end of the month. On the 26th of October, Mussolini fabricates a frontier incident. On the 27th of October, a reception is held at the Italian legation in Athens, which Metaxas attends. Then, early in the morning of the 28th of October, the Italian minister Grassi presents an ultimatum to Metaxas, which he rejects. At the same moment, Italian troops are already crossing the Albanian border. No honorable historian can possibly, then or now, deny that this is one of the most shameful, infamous moments in Italian history. But for the Greeks, it was not a moment of shame or infamy, but a moment of courage and valor. It was, in the words of Winston Churchill, their finest hour. For in that one brave retort, OXI, Greece became, think about it, the only country to enter the war voluntarily on the Allied side when Britain stood completely alone against the Nazi time. Greece's bravery and self-sacrifice against overwhelming odds gave England desperately needed time. Time that in the long run was one of the factors that enabled the Allies ultimately to defeat the barbaric fascists. I often wonder how many people, young or old, stop to think that they are free people today, not only because of English courage, French courage, Dutch courage, American courage, but Greek courage. That resounding, electrifying OXI on that cold October morning, on the eve of more terrible crises to come, became an important and inspiring symbol as well. Finally, someone had resisted. Someone had refused, despite threats and military superiority, to be walked on by the cruel, satanic, fascist heel, which was eventually to obliterate almost all of Europe. Now, Hitler and Mussolini should not have been surprised by Greek courage and stubborn resistance, for the Greeks were doing, let's be honest, what comes naturally. For Greek history is filled with acts of incredible bravery and spirit, of nobility and self-sacrifice, of strength and survival. And one of us here today doesn't have to turn to history for examples of that Greek courage and self-sacrifice. Let us remember our personal histories, the courage of our immigrant parents and grandparents. Imagine for a moment what it must be like to come to a country, a strange alien land, without knowledge of a new language, without the comfort of family, without even the sight of one familiar thing. Yet they came, and through their courage and their willingness to work hard, to adapt and assimilate, they built a life and left us a lasting legacy. Yet they never forgot their history, their language, their religious faith, their family values, their food, their music, their dance, their traditions, and that very precious quality which makes me so proud, their love of life. And it's something that I thought about today with the Greek school performances. That's why they started Greek schools, wherever they settled, and hired teachers, because they wanted that language to live. And with that language, it meant that everything that was Greek could live too. On that fateful October day, Premier Metaxas wrote words we should never forget. This is what he wrote. It is now for us to show the world whether we are indeed worthy of our ancestors and of the freedom won for us by our forefathers. Let our entire nation rise as one man. Fight for your country, for your wives, for your children, and for our sacred Greek traditions. I shudder to think what the world would be like today, not just the world at large, but my personal world, as a daughter of Greek immigrant parents without Greek courage. There is something else to be learned from OXI, which I was reminded of as I went back and did a little more research. I truly believe that the importance of that day, and also the courage of the Cretan freedom fighters in their resisting the German bombing of Crete early in the war, were turning points in Greek-American history. Their heroic resistance did not end until the terrible warriors were over. And I believe that the heroic resistance aroused the admiration of the entire Western world. Greeks and their American relatives now found themselves possessing a new dignity, a new status. Even some who had previously hidden their Greek nationality became proud of their Greek ancestry and wanted everyone to know about it. What a debt of gratitude we owe to Premier Metaxas and the Greek people for their courage. 2,000 years ago, after the Battle of Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans were destroyed by the Persians, they carved above the graves a sign in the rock which said, "Passerby, tell Sparta we fell faithful to her service." We are here today to honor those who fell faithful to the free world service, who upon being granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger, Greece did not shrink from the responsibility, but with the highest nobility seized the burden and the glory of the role. Let us also remember today what the Allied leaders who eventually would lead the free world to victory in the Second World War would say about the importance of OXI. President Franklin Roosevelt wrote, "When the entire world had lost all hope, the Greek people dared to question the invincibility of the German monster, raising against it the proud spirit of freedom." Winston Churchill stated, "Hence, we will not say that Greeks fight like heroes, but that heroes fight like Greeks." Premier Metaxas proclaimed, "I place the dignity of Greece above everything else. I will not yield. We shall be victorious." Tragically, this extraordinary leader, who earned his place in history by giving Greece one of her finest hours, did not live to see the Allied victory he believed in and helped to make possible. As a matter of fact, he was seriously ill all during those trying periods of negotiations. He died on January 29th, 1941. Today, all of us here honor him, and every OXI we help to make his memory eternal. Thank you, GAPA, for remembering and honoring our history, for reminding us lest we forget what we stand for. The great philosopher George Santayana once warned, "Those who refuse to pay attention to history will be condemned to relive it." And that is why, in remembering OXI, we must certainly find renewed inspiration. But we must also take warning. We must never forget that the price of freedom is constant vigilance and concern, that the forces of fascism throughout the world have not entirely disappeared, but must be continually battled, that the commitments to human rights and principles of justice and equality, of fairness, are a lifelong struggle that require awareness, knowledge, compassion, caring, and self-sacrifice. Today, our beloved Greece has very serious problems. If I start to talk about them, I'll probably start to cry. But those specifically are subjects for discussion at another time. Greece survives and will survive. That is one of the lessons of history. Greece has given the world so much. From the golden age of Aristotle and Plato and Socrates and the first playwrights and poets and historians. And from the wisdom and courage of St. Paul as he spreads the faith. From the war of independence against the Turks to the courage to stand up to Hitler and fascism. Every day I say, Ευχαριστώ Elas, but it's not enough. Today, as we take pride in our past, may we also commit ourselves to a future built upon the Greek values we cherish. Perhaps on this October day in 2015, it is our turn to consider what we can do to restore our beloved Greece, to become once again not just historical memory, but future greatness. Perhaps it is now up to us, who have benefited so greatly from Greek courage and sacrifice, to help our beloved Hellas, so that no longer will we talk about the glory that was Greece, but the glory that is Greece. The light of ancient Greece has often been dimmed throughout her incredible but often tragic history. But that light has never gone out. Can we consider today bringing that light, the light that helped create Western civilization, back? From my heart, I truly hope so. For it is not enough to speak. Our words require action and courage. And in my heart today, I truly believe we can make a difference. And from my heart, I thank you, my fellow proud Greeks, for being here, not only to honor our history, but perhaps today, to start thinking of how we too can make history. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. Thank you for reminding us of our past. Thank you for reminding us of the significance of heroes. But we do have still in our midst, and I want to offer a special salute to the patriarch of those heroes past, but now present with us, George Zikas, the patriarch of our parents, one of those great heroes of OXI and the resistance to the Nazis. Thank you, George, for your service. Zito Elas, Zito OXI. Thank you to the GAPA, thank you to Georgia, thank you to the Greek School for a beautiful program. Remember the history, our history, because as Georgia pointed out, if we fail to remember, we will repeat such tragedies. God will provide. Let us take the light of Elada and the gospel and let it shine upon all humanity. God bless you.